Hey, my name is Coach Leanne with Next Fit Clubs, and whether you just smashed your quads or pumped your peach up, this post leg day stretch is for you. And just a reminder, right now is a great time to get your post-workout shake in. So go ahead and grab some of our Thorne products. Right here is our protein and some creatine, and we're gonna enjoy that while we enjoy our stretch. I went ahead and put the link below. All members of Next get 10% off of Thorne products. Besides not actually doing it and think that you're going to do it at home when normally you don't, one of the biggest mistakes that we see is not stretching the entire chain of the body after leg day. Remember, you're probably holding dumbbells, using that upper body to brace. You're putting a bar or weight on your back. So your spine and the rest of your body needs a little bit of tender loving care as well. So I'm going to give you 3 moves. They're going to give you the biggest bang for your buck and stretch your entire system. Pay attention to the cues as I go through, because the intensity and intention that you give your stretch is just as important as the intensity and intention that you gave your training session. So we're going to start here with a box, or rogue boxes. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a version of a pigeon. We're going to do like a standing pigeon or figure 4, whatever you'd like to call it. So I'm going to bring that leg up and rest my ankle on top of the box. Now, if you need a little bit modification and this is a little too much for you, the box can just be lower. You could start with a bench and work your way up. But the idea is to increase your mobility, to decrease soreness, and be able to sit on the toilet the next day, right? So we're going to elongate that spine before we do anything else. A lot of times when we stretch, we want to get right into it and we flop our spine over the top. But what we're trying to do, we just contracted all of our muscles. We want to elongate the muscles and the body, bringing oxygen and blood flow back to those muscles. So I'm just going to rest here for a couple seconds, breathing in and exhaling out, making sure we're breathing and giving those resources to those muscles. Right here, I'm feeling a deep stretch on the side of my glute. This is also going to attack that sciatica pain that we tend to get as we get really tight or as we get older and sit a lot. So I'm elongating the spine. As I can intensify this, as it starts to become a little bit more comfortable here, I then am going to lean forward from the hip. I'm going to hinge just like my deadlift, and I'm going to kind of arch my chest up where my sternum can kind of come over the top of that shin and of that ankle there. I'm still elongating my spine through. I'm not hunching over. So if this is as far as you get and it's really intense, this is where you start. Advancing it as you get better at this, you can advance it, and you can even do a little wave pattern. You lift up as you inhale in, and you exhale out. The whole point of the stretch isn't to do a specific amount of time or reps, but it's actually just to get a little bit more comfortable in it. Awesome. I'm feeling great on this side, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring that leg down, and I'm going to switch it out to the other side. The hardest part about legs is having 2 sides, both in the work and in the stretch. And the coolest part about having 2 sides is you get to go ahead and get feedback on what side is tighter, what side needs a little bit more loving, and you can just spend a little bit more time there. Your stretch is actually a great time to do that, where when you're working out, you have to do 12 reps on both sides. You can't do 8 reps and 10 reps. You have to keep it nice and even. Inhaling. So this could also be feedback as to whether or not your training is properly allocated or whether you are utilizing one leg more than the other. So once again, I'm elongating that spine, just resting here for a little bit, and then creating more and more. Now, if that's even not enough, you can grab a higher box, or as you start to work it, you can start to bend this back leg a little bit. That will advance it. And you could see how that would change the entire hip cavity. Now, like I said before, we want to make sure we're working the entire system. So all the way from my knee, all the way up through the top of my spine can be stretched here. We are trying to work that whole system. Next up, we really want to get a nice stretch in those hip flexors and loosen up the quad from the top to the bottom. So while you could do an easy standing stretch, of course, really quick, this is going to take a little bit of an advanced approach, and you want to get better at this because this will also help your mobility at the end of the day. If you need an ab mat or something for your knee, by all means, you can go and grab it. So I'm just going to bend over really quick. I'm going to put that back ankle onto either the wall. Ideally, if you have the toe up, it's the best, but this I'm going to modify a little bit and let my toe go over the roller. You could do this on a sled as well with a hip thrust pad on it, just for a little support for that ankle. So once again, I'm going to elongate my spine as I'm sitting in this. If you're here to start, that is totally okay. If you need to hang out with your upper body a little bit and get more used to the movement, you could start here. And then slowly but surely, I'm going to try to elongate and push my entire body back from the knee all the way up to the head, standing nice and tall from that knee through the ground. One more way that I can intensify this stretch is to actually tuck my pubic bone ever so slightly forward as I lean back with my torso. That is going to take your breath away. But it's going to feel really good, and you're going to get a nice deep stretch in that hip flexor all the way down through the quad and even a little VMO. So once again, I'm just going to breathe through this. If you need to relax through it, you can inhale and exhale as you tuck and lean back. Inhaling, backing off a little bit, and then exhaling, tuck that pubic bone and lean back. And then of course I would go ahead and do the other side. For this next one, we have to remember that we're probably using our QLs a lot. We're using our lats, and we really do want a big stretch in that entire system. So we're gonna take our legs nice and wide. We're gonna bring one of the legs in. Now I'm using my left leg forward. It's gonna be the right on the screen for you. So I'm gonna lean over, I'm gonna elongate my spine and lean over, trying to drop my left elbow to the ground, your right elbow. And then this might be intense enough for people. You might be here on top, and that's totally fine. The whole point is to get the entire system from the opposite hand all the way through the opposite heel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach up towards the sky and stretch over. So for you, your left hand all the way through that right heel should feel a nice deep stretch. The biggest cue here is to try to open up towards the ceiling and really keep the body nice and long, not allowing yourself to crunch or be hanging out. Try to get a little uncomfortable and elongate, digging the heel into the ground. Toe is pointed up towards the sky. And we are loosening up that QL nice and strong. I can then come out of it, and we can go ahead and do the other side. Elbow goes down, reaching up towards the sky and leaning forward. So while this isn't necessarily a leg stretch, we are going to work the entire system where the legs are attached. The hips take a big and heavy hit during leg day. And so everything radiating up from the hips and down below the hips need a nice deep stretch. Well, I know I really only wanted to go over 3 to give you the biggest bang for your buck. This is just one more for you that have the very, very tight hamstrings. So if you have trouble reaching your toes and your hamstrings are super fired up, this one is for you, and it should be something that you do every single day in order to be able to achieve the toe reach. So all we're going to really do is bend over and try to touch our toes. What I'm doing here is I'm allowing my entire spine though to also get a deep stretch. And as I exhale, I can bring myself a little deeper, a little deeper. So now this stretch is radiating all the way through my posterior chain, all the way through that low back, and then even into the lats and the back of the arms. I'm going to do my best to try to get very comfortable here and to take it a little bit further. Even if I'm up here, I'm going to bend one knee and pop that other hip out. So I'm going to bend the knee and pop the hip out. I can kind of move through this nice and slow. I can pause at certain parts that are really tight. And the movement can be very subtle and with the breath. And to take it a little bit more advanced, if you grab your elbows, you can really let that spine hang. especially if you were doing something like barbell squats, where you're letting all the weight be kind of squish and bear on your spine. This is going to be a nice little relief. So as you can tell, just spending a little bit of time here, I've really elongated and stretch those muscles out. So whether you believe that you're somebody who needs to stretch or not, you definitely need to stretch. Immediately post-workout is the best time to do so while your body is nice and warm. Even waiting 5 minutes will decrease the effectiveness of that stretch. So be sure to get it done. 3 simple moves. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like it and share it with a friend who's super tight.